On the menu today, it's Julia Child's giant stuffed beef roll. She called it La Paupiette de Gargantua. So shall I.
Ah! Bon appetit.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to my home. Have you heard the news? I told you. Yeah, JC, Julia Child is back in this kitchen. It feels good. Reunited. Here we are. And I've made so many of her recipes. So many. If I were to make a list of my favorites, better believe that the beef ones would dominate that list, especially the braised, slow cooked ones. They can be tricky at first, some of the lingo and the steps, and I mean, you know that. You make a couple of them, it makes you a little more comfortable to make the rest of them, and you're getting results that, for me, blow in my fragile little mind. Self-burn. The tender meat that just falls apart when you touch it. Unstoppable flavors. So much so that it's making all of this cooking and the ensuing mess that goes along with the cooking worth it, mostly. Well, that's bringing me to Julia Child's Mastering the Art of French Cooking Cookbook V2 today. And as advertised, going with the beef roll, the biggie, La Paupiette de Gargantua. Flip the page and there's the variation. I have made this right here. We're talking about favorite Julia Child recipes. This would be in the conversation for sure. Individual stuffed beef rolls, different flavors going on. It was a good day in the kitchen, but that's not what we're making. We're making the biggie. Gargantuan is a great word. Don't use it enough. Let's get to work. Where's the beef? 2.5 pounds of top round. So what I gotta do first is cut off the gristle and fat. So I gotta slice the beef now as if I'm opening a book. Being careful with what you're doing here. Pound it. Needs to be around 3/4 to 1 inch thick. 12 inches by 6 inches wide. Ooh, that's 12 by 8. This beef roll is going to be even more gargantuan than originally planned. Around 3 tablespoons of Dijon, half a teaspoon of, I'm using Italian seasoning. Spread it all over the surface here. Get the ruler out of your pocket. Spread it on the surface. And now I need to keep this aside until I'm ready for it. Soon. Next step we got to do is the green stuffing with pork, ham, and onions. Pot of boiling salted water and around 300 grams, over half a pound worth of green spinach. Nice. Get the whole case in there. I need to wilt this and it needs to become, whoa! Okay, keep that in there for around 3 minutes. Then rinse with cold water to stop it from cooking. So all that spinach wilted down into just merely a handful of wilted, tender spinach. The very first video I made on this channel, I did not know what wilting spinach meant. Fact. I'm using the baby spinach. I didn't remove the stems because they're soft enough. But if you're using like fully matured adult spinach, you probably have to remove those stems because they'd be too tough. Mince up an onion with an extra complimentary courtesy mince. Non-stick pan, 2 tablespoons of butter and a cup of onions. It was a moderately low heat, and this is basically Julia Child cooking in a nutshell. Onions and butter until tender but not browned. And then in goes the spinach. Turn up the heat. Gotta evaporate whatever remaining moisture is in that spinach. Keep it cooking for a few minutes. And let's continue. Ham. I think I'm gonna need all of that, so just start chopping. Dicing. You're gonna need to dice. Dice it. This was frozen in the freezer up until like half an hour ago, and I was like, oh yeah, the ham. So I just nuked it in the microwave for a couple minutes, and it's still frozen a little bit, but also like that's not appetizing. This most delicious looking ham here with the water problem is I'm just gonna saute this for a few minutes, get that, yeah, fix it. No more water, dry as the desert. Come over here, sausages. I need... I'll go with 2. So this is these right here are mild Italian sausages. Split open the casing. I just need the meat. Yeah, snakeskin. Don't need it. Half a cup worth and some change. I'm cool with that. What's amazing is in all of the Julia Child recipes that I've made throughout the years, I've never come across this specific thing. It's a spice blend called Épice Fine. Fine spice. Like finely ground, I suppose. Half a tablespoon of ground cloves, half a tablespoon of mace, half a tablespoon of paprika, half a tablespoon of thyme, 1.5 teaspoons of basil, 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1.5 teaspoons of marjoram. I am having this recipe, but even this amount is a lot. A 1/4 cup worth of white pepper. Let's mix that together. Half a tablespoon of probably bay leaf. Break it all up into like choking hazard pieces. And I'm gonna add that in there. I don't currently have a spice grinder right now. I used to have one, I don't have one anymore because my, well, it was a coffee grinder that I used primarily for spices, but then my other coffee grinder broke, so the spice grinder turned into the coffee grinder. And I would use it right now, but the problem is that there's ground cloves in here. And I do know what happens when you add ground cloves into a coffee grinder. Well, it's permanent. That taste, the residue, is permanent. The thyme leaves and the bay leaves could use a little mortar and pestling. Super careful here. I don't want to choke and die on the bay leaf, so I'm gonna also pass it through a sieve now. That works. Guarantee you it's gonna be much ado about nothing because you're gonna laugh when you see how much of that I actually need. Anyway, I gotta go fetch a friend. Very special surprise. Everyone on your feet. It's the Silver Fox. Silver Fox. Julia gave me the option for a heavy-duty electric mixer or a mixing bowl or a heavy-duty electric mixer. I take that option. In go the greens and the onions, half a cup of the sausage meat, well, and some change, full cup of the diced ham, sans water, 1 egg, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs, 1 clove of garlic mashed, but since I'm using the contraption here, it never does a perfect job. So you use 2 cloves of garlic, it should equal around 1 mashed. There you go. I made the spice blend, right? Should I pour it all in? Nay. Only half a teaspoon of Épice Fine. All right, well, now I have it, so you never know when these things pop up. So here we go. Vigorously beat it all together. Vigorously. Okay, not that vigorously. So in order to know if this tastes all right, seasoning wise, you gotta saute it up, cook through the sausage meat. Then you gotta give it a taste, and that tastes pretty good. Before I can move forward with this, thick cut bacon. So I have 8 slices of bacon that I'm gonna have to blanch. I will explain after I have done so. Into simmering water for like 10 minutes. Removes the excess salt flavor. It helps remove the curing flavor, like the smoky flavor. This one was a sugar cured bacon, so you know, helps remove that. And also just, you know, you want to ensure that this is not going to overpower the dish. But let's just put it aside for a hot minute because I can now roll this sucker up. Taking my green stuffing here, spreading it on my butterflied piece of beef, but keeping a 1-inch border around the edges. Rather loosely, I start rolling this up, and it's gonna start making a sausage shape about 4 inches in diameter. Come on, keep your border around the edge there. Come on, come on. Oi! Fold over the 2 ends. Fold over the 2 ends. What's that mean? Fold over the 2 ends. What? Fold over the 2. It says to fold over the two ends. So fold over the two ends. I get it. So you're making a beef burrito. That's exactly it there. Two ends have been folded in. Wrap the bacon around the roll, particularly around the seam and the end pieces. Bacon is gonna help keep the shape of this roll, but at the same time when I'm braising this, the bacon fat should render out of the bacon into the beef, keep it juicy, moist, and tender, so that it doesn't dry out. Just to be the super cautious person I am, I'm gonna wrap this with some kitchen twine too. So, it's been a couple hours. This is an apple. I wrapped up this beef roll in plastic wrap as if it was like Gordon Ramsay's beef Wellington. I had a feeling that if I proceeded with how it was gonna fall apart, and this thing needs to keep its shape. You can just lift it up and la-di-da-da. I'm gonna dry it with some paper towel. Okay. All right. Whatever vessel you're gonna use to cook this giant ass beef roll, I'm going with this. It's oval shape, moderate heat, some cooking fat into there. I'm gonna use lard. All right, and then we gotta coat the base. Get the roll in there. It is a perfect fit and seam side up. Chopped carrot, chopped onion, I'm gonna strew them around the meat. Browning the bottom and then just loosening it with the spatula occasionally so that it's not sticking to the bottom of the pan. Baste the top with the fat. How's that looking? Nicely browned. What I do next is I gotta brown the top of this, but I'm gonna get it in the oven that's just super hot, 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Leave it in there for like 12 to 15 minutes and then basting every 3-ish minutes with the fat. All right, leave it uncovered. Coming in hot, very hot. I don't really know how it's supposed to brown on top with all that bacon, so not a big deal. It's funny because there's bacon on the top of this, like all over the top, and that was what I did. I was kind of following the directions as best as my brain allows, but at the same time, it's not browning in the oven the way it was like supposed to for that step, I think, because the bacon is covering the top of the beef. Anyway, I'm trying to season this as well, and the salt just lands on top of the bacon, so just kind of I season the beef is what I want to do. Same with pepper. So you want to season with salt, pepper, and more of the same herbs. More of the same. Well, I'm going to interpret that more of the sameness as in like that spice blend that I made way too much of. But there is an insane amount of white pepper in here, so why don't you take it easy. Italian seasoning popped up at one point, so why don't you pour a little of that on top too. Pour in beef stock, 1.5-ish cups of, oh, that's 2 cups of beef stock. That's perfect. Dry white wine, vermouth, and all that liquid needs to come around halfway up the beef. You got that up to a simmer, or safe to say that's a boil. And I cover it with foil. Lid goes on. Turn the oven down to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. I gotta leave that in there to braise for 1.5 to 2 hours. And every so often basting. Gotta keep it basting. Keep it juicy. So I could just fart around in the kitchen doing a whole bunch of nothing while I wait for that to braise, or I could make myself useful. I have some vegetables that need to be used up, mushrooms and a carrot, so I have a plan. I'm gonna make one of my favorite Julia recipes, which is glazed carrots, or in this case, glazed carrot. Cover the carrots with stock, sugar, pepper, butter. Got that up to a boil. Now I need that liquid to reduce down to a syrupy kind of like consistency. Lid goes on, 30 to 40 minutes. I'm gonna guess 30 minutes because it's 1 carrot. They gotta be tender. Excuse me while I shroom broom my last mushroom. Just gotta brush that off. These are big mushrooms. How about you cut them down to size? Next to the steaming carrots there, butter and oil. On a high heat. Once the butter starts foaming, add in the mushrooms. Never told you what I was doing, but I'm gonna saute up these mushrooms in oil and butter. Keep them shaken and, you know, sum it all up. I'm focusing on getting these lightly browned. What's that burning smell? Oh dear! Get this off the heat. There's an emergency. Fan goes on. I burnt the carrots. That's coming right out of my security deposit. Okay, that is a shame. It's a crying shame. I think you're gonna need to let that soak for a couple years. So the carrots are lightly seasoned with some salt and pepper. Not making the same mistake with these mushrooms. Okay, hello, it's been 2 hours and this beef should be done braising. I've been keeping an eye on it. You gotta check that a knife can pierce the meat easily. Oh, yeah. This next part should only be done by a professional. It's gonna get a little dicey because this thing could fall apart at any moment, so onto the platter. All right, let's cut off the string and I remove the bacon now. But bacon is good, I know. Doesn't have a whole lot of flavor though. Good thing I had that tied up in string because you can see that it was starting to separate, but that string just kept it together. I'm gonna put the foil cover back on. Keep this in the turned off oven until I'm ready, which is soon. Bring this back over here. If you've made one Julia Child recipe, you know what the move is. I am straining all of this stuff into the saucepan. Just the liquid, please. Why don't you hold on to those carrots and then you have them for the color on the plate? Because the carrots that I made look like what I have here is the braising liquid. She says you need 1.5 to 2 cups worth. I'm only dirtying up this measuring cup so I know exactly how much. 2 cups. Yay. It says it should be slightly thickened because of the braising ingredients and the breadcrumbs from the filling, but I don't find that to be the case. 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and 2 tablespoons of vermouth. Mix that slurry. I'm not really in the mood to be horsing around right now. I just want to get things done quickly, and if there's dirty dishes, I'll worry about it later. So that's my fat separator. I'm just gonna let that settle for a minute because I need to get the fat off of that. There you go. No fat allowed. Leave the fat behind. No fat. Let's add the slurry in here now because I figured that this thing is already hot. That's safe to do so. And then I'm gonna bring this up to a boil and then simmer for a few minutes. Ooh, thickened up nice. The heat is off. Mix in the butter, enrichment butter. 2 tablespoons worth, a little at a time until it's in there, really. Whoa! So let's get this platter going over here. Roly-poly. I'm gonna have it so that the seam is facing down because it did open up a little bit, and if you look at it like this, it doesn't look like that. Garnish the plate with your vegetables. Let's start off with these carrots. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And get the mushrooms on there. Oh, this is a good thing I made all this extra stuff. Trying to go for a certain look and I'm not achieving it with this bigger platter, so I'm switching to the small one. 1, 2, 3. The vegetables go underneath the beef. A little of the sauce over the meat, and it desperately needs a little greenery here, there. Order up. Oh, say around 10 inches. You? How's that look? Ooh, nice. Even the carrots. So you know what? I kind of timed that perfectly by accident because it's dinner time now and I can eat that with the fam. I gotta keep it warm. I mean, that's another great Julia Child recipe with beef. She's got plenty of them. Am I gonna say it's the best of the best? I don't think it was this time. I feel like the beef could have been just a hair more tender. Because I braised that for 2 hours and 5 minutes, but I think it could have been like half an hour more. Dare I say even an hour? you are risking it with the shape of that thing for an hour, but I think it may have been worth it. Because what do you want? More tender beef or, you know, the beef roll? I guess the beef roll, but I don't know what the answer is to that question. I may never know. Doesn't matter. The stuffing was fantastic because it's kind of like a rustic. I'm going to go with rustic today, yeah. The spinach and the ham and that sausage meat in there with that white pepper spice blend. And I thought that was really working. Rich and salty and what's a word for herbs? Aromatic. I think that's everything I want to say about this thing here. Gargantua. I liked it. It was good, bordering on great. There's just so many of the other braised beef recipes I enjoyed more, including this variation here with the individual beef rolls. I liked that one much more. It was mind-blowingly good, where this one was good. So that matters. Anyway, if I left anything out, just let me know and just ask me, you know. Thank God I sauteed up those mushrooms too. I don't know what I would have done without those. They really just added a little something to the plate. And shout out to the carrots. Thinking of you. This was Jamie and Julia. Bon appetit. Au revoir.